You're probably familiar with Nestlé, the food and beverage company that's behind some of your favourite products. From chocolate bars to coffee to baby formula, Nestlé's products are found in homes and stores all over the world. But have you ever wondered about the cost of these products, both for people and for the planet? Behind the familiar packaging and global brand, there lies a disturbing truth about Nestlé's business practices. From exploiting natural resources to taking advantage of communities in developing countries, the company has been the subject of numerous controversies and criticism over the years. In this video, we'll delve into the dark side of Nestlé and shed light on the company's controversial practices. In 1866, an Anglo-Swiss condensed milk company introduced Europe to condensed milk, another life-saving product in a time before refrigeration, when fresh milk quickly went bad in travel. This marked the official beginning of Nestlé's history. Since its founding as the Nestlé and Anglo-Swiss Milk Company in 1905, the company has undergone several name changes before settling on its current moniker. Early growth was supported by expenditures on technologically advanced manufacturing facilities and innovative scientific items. Nestlé and Anglo-Swiss were able to expand into new urban markets around the world because of the advent of railways and steamships, and they made effective use of new forms of advertising, such as newspapers, magazines, and billboards, to inform consumers about the advantages of their products. After World War II, when more women entered the workforce, the demand for foods that were easy to prepare increased, and Nestlé was able to provide this need with their convenient goods. In 1938, the first great-tasting instant coffee, Nescafé, was introduced, allowing people to start the day with a Nescafé. By 1948, they had access to Nesquik, a cocoa-based powder that quickly and readily mixed with cold milk. Today, Nestlé is the largest food corporation in the world, with over 270,000 workers, over 2,000 brands, and a presence in 186 countries. Nestlé's story certainly sounds amazing. They can do no wrong, right? The reality is, it isn't all as rosy as Nestlé would like you to believe. The first major scandal involving Nestlé occurred in 1974. Profits for baby formula made by Nestlé had begun to fall, so the company began positioning its product as a need. To further convince expectant mums that Nestlé infant formula was superior to breast milk, the company sent out saleswomen masquerading as nurses to hand out free samples and freebies in hospital maternity wards. By the time people realised that Nestlé was misleading them, many women who had been using Nestlé baby formula had ceased lactating altogether, leaving their babies fully dependent on the company's product.
The question is what do you do, or what do you feel is your corporate responsibility to find out the extent of the use of your product in those circumstances in the developing part of the world? Do you feel that you have any responsibility?
We can't have that responsibility, sir. May I make a reference to...
You can't have that responsibility?
No.
Due to a lack of safe drinking water, many women in these nations were diluting Nestlé's formula with dirty water. Infant death rates and malnutrition rates rose in countries where Nestlé sold its tainted formula, and doctors began seeing an uptick in cases of unwell babies after consuming this formula. There was a call to stop using Nestlé's infant formula around the year of 1977 from a group named the Infant Formula Action Coalition. As a result of the boycott, the WHO established a health code which Nestlé ultimately agreed to adopt in order to prevent further financial losses. The World Health Organization, WHO, created the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes, often known as the WHO Code, in 1981 to control the marketing of breast milk substitutes, like infant formula, in order to preserve and encourage breastfeeding. However, Nestlé would apparently not learn from its mistake, because in 1998 the use of child slaves on Nestlé cocoa plantations were brought to light by an African newspaper.
Demande si on veut avoir des enfants pour venir travailler dans notre plantation ici, qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire?
Come? Allez terre. Ça pour que le bosso connaît. Même qu'à créer, quoi bien moi faire travailler qu'à faire. Mais c'est qu'on va aller là. Mais bien à quoi faire.
According to the United States authorities, around 15,000 children were found working on cocoa and coffee plantations that supplied the Nestlé firm. Nestlé acknowledged this and committed to a 70% reduction in child labour by 2015.
Did you want to go to work in the cocoa plantation?
Ni bana kiti baraka drogi bugo. So ni smala talife. Wiki bugo.
Ankunga chakungo kono dole nana bol otugoro no kobo mine anto fene ambulla anga keshi kungo kono ana shi dole ga kako foro kono ale fene nana e ka nyini nga tugo fafe fene ando mobli kono ka ambla kono.
New laws and policies aimed at preventing child labour and other violations of human rights were adopted as a result of the incident, which raised scrutiny of Nestlé's supply chain operations. In 2005, a class action lawsuit was also brought against Nestlé in the United States regarding the use of child labour on their plantations. In another scandal, Nestlé co-owned a Colombian milk plant with ties to a paramilitary group, and the union managing the facility was concerned about working conditions there. Luciano Romero, a prominent union official responsible for monitoring the working conditions in the facility, began to suspect that he was a target of the paramilitary organization. He would be proven right. Paramilitaries abducted Luciano on September 10, 2005 and killed him after subjecting him to torture. When the Colombian and Swiss governments looked into Luciano's murder after his death, they found evidence that Nestlé had been aware of the threats against Luciano. Even though as a multinational corporation, Nestlé had legal obligation to safeguard Luciano, they did nothing to help him after he alerted them of the death threats he was receiving. In 2014, a lawsuit accusing Nestlé of negligence that contributed to Luciano's death was dropped because the crimes were considered to be time-barred. And if you think that's the end of Nestlé's long line of scandals, guess again. Nestlé had been wasting fresh water that the people of Flint, Michigan so sorely needed by pumping out 200 gallons every minute for its own profit. This crisis occurred between 2014 to 2015 when the city of Flint, Michigan switched its water source to the Flint River, which was contaminated with lead and other toxins. The contaminated water was then distributed to residents, leading to widespread health problems and a public health emergency. 12 people lost their lives and 87 were injured due to the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. Just from the simple act of taking a bath, kids lost their eyesight, lost their hair, and even developed skin lesions. Governor Rick Snyder, in an effort to save money, had shifted the city's water supply from one of Michigan's cleanest water sources to the polluted and dangerous Flint River, leaving the population without access to clean drinking water. The state gave millions of gallons of free water to a large firm in the same month that it decided to discontinue providing Flint with free bottled water. Nestlé is only required under Michigan law to pay the state $200 in annual administration fees in order to bottle and sell 400 gallons of groundwater every minute. This is in addition to a one-time $5,000 permit application fee. Nestlé had been making super profits while the people of Flint had been in a condition of perpetual turmoil. Large companies like Nestlé use a range of tactics to influence policies through lobbying. Contributing to political candidates or parties' campaigns is one of the most popular ways of gaining access to and sway over decision-makers in the government. In 2021 alone, Nestlé reported spending about $900,000 on lobbying. For context, Hershey's spent $360,000 on lobbying in the same year. Corporations like Nestlé frequently devote large resources to advocacy and lobbying initiatives in an effort to successfully influence policies for their own advantage. This can involve working with prominent lobbyists, founding business associations, contributing to political campaigns, and cultivating relationships with decision-makers. These initiatives lead to laws that support corporate interests, but they also inevitably end up fostering public mistrust or a reaction against businesses that are thought to exert undue influence over political decision-making.